is the Louie Network.
Then my team was 6-10, and we ain't smell the playoffs. Then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Wildcard Weekend in the National Football League 2017 NFL playoffs getting kicked off with the Oakland Raiders traveling to Houston, the site of the Super Bowl, LRG Stadium, where the Texans would be defending their home turf as the number 4 seed in the AFC playoffs. 4-5 matchup. We knew about this game going in that there were going to be a couple of quarterbacks that you weren't really sure about, at least with the Texans. They had a guy that had some starting experience for the Raiders that could not be said. And so you saw that unfold as the game went on, that a lack of experience in a guy that just hasn't done this at this level before. It really showed why the Raiders are going to have a really tough, tall task ahead of them trying to win against that Houston Texans defense. We'll break this game down in a second, but first and foremost, welcome to the program. I'm your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me here on this special Wildcard Weekend breakdown of the Raiders and the Texans. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Louie T Network, for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply subscribing to the channel. Also, I'm on Twitter, @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. I was on Twitter the entire game. Also did a live halftime show on Twitter, which I will be doing throughout the entire playoffs. So go ahead and follow me on Twitter, @InTheLabRoom is my Twitter handle. Also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. So go ahead and do that as well. All my social media platforms right there in the screen scrolling up above. So take care of those things. Let's jump into this breakdown because we don't have a lot of time. The football gods and the NFL has made it so that we don't have a lot of time between games. The next one is supposed to start in 15 minutes. Those bastards, right? Yeah, but anyway, let's jump into this breakdown. We talked about this game in the first half and how the Texans really surprised us. We did not see this coming. Hell, I said they were going to score 19 total points in this game. They had 20 at halftime. A lot of that talked about turnovers being huge in a game where you're not sure about the two quarterbacks. The team that didn't turn it over was going to have the best chance to win. The Texans were the ones that took care of the football in this game. And so the Raiders got off to a rough start with the turnover by Cook. Great play by Jadeveon Clowney to pick that football off, set up the Texans first and goal from the 4. They would get in on a Lamar Miller touchdown run. And to me, that set the tone for the game. They were able then, after getting out to that 10-0 lead, they were able to then, and let's not discount what Nick Novak did in this game. First points of the game from 50 yards. He's been huge for them since coming onto this football team, replacing Randy Bullock, one of the worst kickers in the league. He's been great for them. Nick Novak has come in and really settled that field goal kicking position for them. And he made 2 big field goals in this game, getting them out to that 10-0 lead. That allowed the Texans to kind of exhale a bit. Remember, last year they were on their heels early in that ball game versus Kansas City. The opening play was a 101-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. They were able to exhale, settle in, and then they knew, okay, we got to stop the run. They gave up a big punt return that led to a touchdown, but they were able to settle in this game. Brock Osweiler with a huge touchdown drive right before the half to give them that 20-7 cushion that they would not relinquish. Thought we knew what was going to happen in the second half of this game. They were going to take the air out of the football for the most part, run it, try to eat up as much of the clock as they could, and they did that in the second half. And you got to love what you got out of this Texans defense. Whitney Merciless, I thought he took over where Jadeveon Clowney left off in the first half. Merciless was unstoppable early when you thought the Raiders still might have had a shot. Early in the second half, they get the football. They've got great field position a couple of times. Texans are pinned deep in their own territory, forced a punt. Jalen Richard with a nice return, his second of the game. You're thinking, okay, Raiders right in that kind of fringe territory where if they get a first down or two, they're in field goal range for sure. But if they can put together a little bit of a drive, maybe they can get in the end zone and change this game and really give themselves a shot. And Whitney Merciless, each and every single time, erased any doubts that the Texans were going to win this football game, as he was simply unstoppable in that third quarter. Specifically, merciless is what I tweeted out while watching the game, as he went bananas on that botched and butchered Oakland Raiders offensive line. No Donald Penn coming into the game. For a stretch there was no Rodney Hudson. Remember, he injured himself right before halftime, injured his ankle, was able to come back in the game, but when he was out, that's when the Texans took advantage, and Merciless was able to get in there and wreak havoc. So the Texans ran the football. It wasn't as effective as they would have liked, but again, it was enough to keep them balanced. And in a game where you didn't have to do much because the other team was inept offensively, you just needed to run it enough, and they did that in this game. And the key, not turning it over, even though Tyler Ervin tried to do it a couple of times. And I told my dad after the first month, get his ass out of there, because he did it all season long. And I love Tyler Ervin. Go back to my draft wrap-up series where I talked about Tyler Ervin and what he could bring to the table. You saw what he could bring with that punt return for a touchdown. He's dynamic, but he's had trouble catching the football and fielding punts all season long, and you saw him muff two in this game. Luckily enough for him, guys were around like Anthony Pleasant to scoop the football up and avoid disaster, because that's the only way the Raiders were going to get back into this game, was a big play, a turnover, something of that sort, where the Texans allowed them to make a huge play and get back into this game. The Texans did not do that, even though they tried on special teams. They did not give up the big play. They did not make a mistake that allowed the Raiders back in this game, and they're able to win this football game. The defense, after that one possession where they gave up the punt return, and then the defense gave up some chunk runs to the Raiders that allowed them to get into the end zone, that was it. They had one drive with Connor Cook where you kind of said, okay, game's over after they went up 27-7, kind of playing some soft zone coverage. Don't want to give up anything cheap or deep. You want to make them earn it, eat up some clock on their way to the end zone. That's what they did. Raiders did get in the end zone, but again, game had already really been decided by then. And the Texans hold on 27-14. You look at it from the Raiders' perspective, you knew what you were walking into when you went into this game with Connor Cook, a third-string rookie quarterback that is not getting some of the reps. He's not getting any of the reps. Like John Gruden said during the telecast, this guy isn't getting any reps. They had no intentions of him seeing the football field this year as a rookie, as a third-string quarterback. Doesn't matter. Take rookie out of the equation. As a third-string quarterback, you're getting 0 reps at practice. So the fact that he's a third stringer, then add into the fact that he's a rookie, you knew this was going to be a tall task. They said that he was the first quarterback in NFL history to make their first career start in the playoffs, and there's a reason why. And so he struggled in this game. I thought he was inaccurate. Even when he had time, he was flustered. He was inaccurate the entire day. And I told you, coming out of Michigan State, that was my biggest knock on Connor Cook, is he's inaccurate. For all of the good things that he does, he's a sneaky athlete. He can throw the football, has a solid arm. For all of the good things that he does, he's very inaccurate. You saw that at Michigan State. You saw it in this football game. Even when he wasn't rattled, even when he wasn't pressured, even when there was time, he didn't throw. First of all, tight spiral is the first thing you need to get done. And on that second pick of the game, when they still thought they might have had an outside shot at 27-14, throws a wobbly duck over the middle of the field, and it's picked off by the Texans. He was inaccurate. He was either low all game, or he was just inaccurate. Just very, very sporadic with the football. But even saying all of that, you got to help the young fella if you're the Raiders. You had drops by not only Krabs and Cooper, but you also had a drop by Seth Roberts as well. All of your receivers let you down outside of Andre Holmes, who seemed to be the only one that could catch it consistently in this game. And that's been a problem for the Raiders as well. Drop passes. You know Coop is going to drop one. Nice, perfectly thrown deep ball. That's what we saw he could do well at Michigan State. Throw it down the field. Well, he threw it well there. Cooper lets it go right through his hands, similar to that Tampa Bay drop he had in that ball game. Krabs with a drop. I talked about that at the halftime show. Got to catch the football over the middle, kills the drive. Got to have it. You got a young rookie, needs confidence. You got to help him. You got to make plays. Seth Roberts, same deal. Third quarter, goes up for the football. Needs you to make that play. Seth Roberts has had trouble catching the football consistently this season anyway, so shouldn't have surprised anyone. But bottom line is the Raiders were behind the 8 ball. They were at a disadvantage in this game because of the quarterback position. I feel for the Raiders fans. I really do, because they had a chance this year. They would have been on a bye right now, and they would have had a legitimate shot, as good as anybody, including the New England Patriots, of making it all the way to the Super Bowl, all the way to Houston. Instead, you get the injury to Carr in Week 16, and this is your fate, a first-round exit to the Houston Texans, 27-14. The running game was solid in the first half, non-existent. Obviously, you're down big in the second half. Really don't have time to run it. So the running game was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't a big factor in this game. And you would have loved to have seen Connor Cook be a little bit more accurate with the football. But he's a rookie. He's a guy that really hasn't had a lot of reps. The timing was off. You saw a lot of guys running routes, and he's throwing a football over the wrong shoulder. The timing was just off. And you can see that not getting reps, not practicing, not playing with these guys on a consistent basis really shined through in this game. And you saw the effect of having a guy that doesn't get a lot of reps in practice. You saw what that does to the timing on the football field. Is a lot of these passes simply were just timing based that were off. Guys coming out of the break and the ball is 2 yards past them already. Wrong shoulder, it's just simple little things that if you practice with a guy, you work out the kinks and you guys are on the same page. So really disappointing game for the Raiders with Connor Cook. But again, it's what we expected because you're dealing with a third string rookie quarterback. I thought the defense for the Raiders, you gotta find a way to create some turnovers here. You got to get to Brock Osweiler. You let him escape the pocket a couple of times and run. You weren't able to get to him and sack him. Look, he is turnover prone if you apply pressure. You didn't do that. And his favorite route is the out route. That's film study. Simply put, I would have been playing some trap too if I'm the Raiders. This is the type of game where you make it look like man and you have that underneath corner sag under that out route. Have him watching the eyes of the quarterback because Brock Osweiler is going to throw it to the tight end. He's going to throw it to one of his receivers on that out route, and you saw him living off that out route in this game, and the Raiders simply had no answer for it. And the Texans, Brock Osweiler, who knew? He looked well in this game. I tried to talk to you guys earlier in the season about Brock Osweiler. This is the Brock I thought we would see a little bit more often than we did this season. Haven't seen that guy. It was nice to see him and very refreshing to see him show up in the biggest game of the season for the Texans at home in the playoffs. Now they got a tall task in front of them. They're probably going to be heading to New England. We'll see what happens pending the outcome of the 3 versus 6 seed Steelers at home versus the Miami Dolphins tomorrow. We'll find out where the Texans will be heading after getting the 27-14 victory over the Raiders. But this is a big win. First, a big-time win for the Texans in quite some time in the postseason. Now we'll see what happens in this football game. Again, if you're the Raiders, this is a season you build off of. It's disappointing how it ended, but you know that you're a better football team than what you displayed today because you were missing your top gun at the quarterback position, the 4-car. You come back next year better for this experience, and hopefully the Raiders can build upon what they've done this season. But it wasn't in the cards today, not with Connor Cook at quarterback. Let's get to some of your comments. We got roughly about 3 or 4 minutes here. I'll try to run through as many of your comments as possible. Vincent Cole says, should give credit to Connor Cook. I mean, it's his first career start, playing against a really good defense and all that. I hear that. I mean, you got to give him credit, but at the same time, there were some throws there that he could have made, he should have made. No pressure. I don't want to hear that it was a tough defense. You're an NFL quarterback, make the throws. I just felt like he put an extra undue pressure on himself to make some throws. He short-armed a lot of throws. A lot of throws were short, didn't even make it to the receiver, or they had to make miraculous catches. The timing was definitely off, and yes, you could tell he was a third-string quarterback. Eagle Speed says, do you think I missed your first comment? Disco Jump Rope says, finally, you saved me. Now we don't have to square up, LOL. Anyways, do you think Tom Savage is healthy? Will they start him next week? After Brock Osweiler did what he did in this game, there's no doubt in my mind, even if Tom Savage is healthy, I think this is Brock Osweiler's job. He played more. He's got more experience. This is the guy that they want to succeed in Houston. He played well in this game, didn't turn it over. I don't see how they go back to Tom Savage. RG3, hashtag smoking at 3, hashtag 1000 says, Clowney is still a bust. No, he's not. Don't do that. Stop your nonsense. He was awesome in this game, was Jadeveon Clowney, especially in the first half of this game. And I thought Whitney Merciless tagged in the second half, and he picked up where Clowney left off in the first half. Weeble says, I live in Oakland, he says, and they all can just pay up and sit down. Go Falcons, LOL. We'll see what happens with the Falcons as they are on a bye week. They earned it. We'll see what happens with the Falcons next week. Mazer _12 says, Cinderella story. I just want revenge against KC. So Miami, do your job. So we'll see what happens. You're asking for the Miami Dolphins to go into Pittsburgh and win so you can go to the 2 seed Kansas City Chiefs and try to beat them like they did you last year at their building. Good luck with that. You're going to need it because the Dolphins going to Pittsburgh and winning, not likely with a backup quarterback in Matt Moore. Sean Mack says, you make fun of me yet for going, let's see what you say, with my heart over my head. Again, LOL. That's what you do, man. And I'm not mad at you, man. But sometimes you got to think. I told you, make picks with your head, not your heart. Your heart will get you in trouble. Make your picks with your head, man. Do the smart thing. Bossaholic says, LOL, I saw you on Periscope listening to Take Care album by Drake. Did you cry on camera because of I F with your mother? No, I didn't cry. That's my man. I get down with Drake, man. I get down with Drake, man. That's my boy, man. So me and him go way back to the days of Degrassi. We go back, man. Me and Drake go back. Let's see. Bernard 543 says this effing sucks. Yeah, it does. And I was telling my dad, it sucks for Raiders fans. And one of my homeboys is a Raiders fan. And he already knew. He had already come to the realization of what was happening here. So he didn't have any expectations going into this game. But a lot of Raiders fans said, wait, why not us? Why not us have the Cinderella story? Because Connor Cook is a third-string rookie quarterback. That's why. And you saw exactly why in this game. Vincent Cole says, let's go Seahawks. Can't wait for the game later. We're basically approaching that game as we speak. And that is the last comment. We're going to get out of here. Remember, I'll be tweeting live throughout that entire game. Also, halftime show here on Twitter. Actually, on Twitter, live halftime show. Seahawks hosting the Detroit Lions 6-3 matchup in the NFC. Should be a dandy. I look for the Seahawks to find a way to get it done. But I'm telling you right now, the Lions are not scared of the Seahawks. Should be a good one. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room on the Louie T Network. Raiders go down to the Texans 27-14. Texans move on to the divisional round of the postseason. Who will they be playing? Will it be the Patriots? Will it be the Kansas City Chiefs? We will find out after Sunday's results. But meanwhile, we got a nice dandy coming up on Saturday night. Seahawks hosting the Detroit Lions. I'll be back at halftime on Twitter live with the halftime report and back here for the breakdown of that game in its entirety when that game is done. I'll see you then. Enjoy the football tonight. Let's chop it up on Twitter. See you there.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Be sleepless in Seattle, cause that 12 man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah, I knew it was something I forgot.